Welcome to Mug with Erin. I'm Erin. This is my mug. This is also my mug, and I'm glad your mug is here too. Every week I'll have a different mug. This week I have my mug with my logo because I love it. I think every mug has a story. At least every mug in my cabinet does. Today I want to talk about the beautiful truth that we were made to hear God's voice. A beautiful truth can be hard to believe, but that doesn't make it any less true. Sit with me for a minute and let's talk about it. When my oldest daughter, Maggie, was about a year old, she had a lot of ear infections. So we ended up at the ear doctor and they wanted to do a hearing test. So we got into this room with just two big speakers, and I held Maggie in my lap. And so the idea was when they called her name, she would respond by looking at which one of the speakers the sound was coming out of. So we sat there in this room, and all of a sudden, Margaret boomed out through one of the speakers, and Maggie didn't respond. Margaret, once again, and Maggie didn't respond again. And I began to panic as a young mom, going, my child is going to fail this hearing test. How could I not know that she couldn't hear? And suddenly, one clear thought broke through my panic. And I yelled out, wait. She doesn't know that name. We don't call her Margaret. We call her Maggie. And so once they started calling her Maggie, the test flew by and she passed with flying colors. Maggie didn't respond because she didn't recognize her name. And that can happen with us too. We were created to hear God's voice, but we don't always recognize the name that He's calling us. Beloved, loved, precious one, friend. We expect Him to say, mistake, failure, oh, it's you again. What do you want now? So, why don't we hear His voice? What are some things in our life that might keep us from hearing His voice? Well, one thing is our lives are so noisy. Our phones are dinging with texts and phone calls and notifications. Our TVs are on. We're so busy. There's always someone to see, something to do, somewhere to go. And God's not going to shout at us above the busyness. He's not going to compete with the sounds of the world. He will wait and He will speak quietly to the deepest places of our heart, places that we didn't know that He could reach. So there's the noise. The second thing is we might have locked elbows. When I don't want someone to get close to me, I'll push out and lock my elbows, right? And so sometimes we do that with God. We lock our elbows and close our heart to keep Him from getting too close. We forget that He sees us. He knows us. There is nothing hidden from His sight, not even our deepest, darkest secret. We forget that, and we try to protect ourselves by keeping God away. And that will prevent us from hearing His voice. I have been there. I have been there many times. I have been mad at God. I have been just angry. And I'm so thankful that God was not content with being on the outskirts of my life. And He's not content with being on the outskirts of your life either. He will do to you like He did to me. He brought me back. He gave me a hunger for Him and brought me back to Him through His kindness and His love. The third thing is, like Maggie, we don't recognize our name. We don't recognize His tender voice calling us. Zephaniah 3:17 says, "The Lord your God is in your midst, a mighty one who will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quiet you by His love. He will exalt over you with loud singing." So the thought of this verse is like what we do with a newborn or a baby when we hold a baby. We speak tenderly to the baby. We look at the baby. We sing songs when we're trying to get the baby to go to sleep. We sing songs of love over them. So when is the last time that you pictured God singing gently over you? This beautiful truth is for you today. You are made to hear God's voice. You are created by God. You are loved by God. You put a smile on God's face. You bring him joy. And this beautiful truth may be hard to believe, but it is still true. So this beautiful truth is one of the devotions that I have compiled in my book, In Unexpected Ways, Christmas and Everyday Life. And these devotions were written in real time. They were written during times when my heart held more questions than answers, when I was struggling through the murky waters of grief, when I doubted God's love for me, times when I let go of hope, and I found that the God of hope never let go of me. I think the devotions in this book will encourage you and will remind you of the truths that make life beautiful. Get your copy at Amazon. And I hope you'll join me next week on Mug to Mug with Erin, where we'll talk about another truth that makes life beautiful.